Hello, everybody. This is Catholic Dad, episode number 334, questioning the coronavirus. I'm at work today, and I put a coronavirus video on last night that, just to summarize, I'm a physician, been working in this business for quite a little while now, and I just question how quickly this sucker got brought to the world stage, and all the emergencies that have been propagated throughout numerous countries throughout the globe. Like, I don't understand how they identified the virus so quickly, got an assay for viral tests. They're rapidly distributing them around the world. They're selling these assays for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, and it almost seems like it's slightly contrived for New World Order reasons, or big profiteers and big pharmaceuticals and so on and so forth, or perhaps ways to take down global economies and election year cycles. Well, anyway, so that was essentially the jux of the video, and one of my viewers actually said, could you make a video? One of this person's professors said, it's actually really bad to question the legitimacy of the virus itself and the outbreak, and that the President of the United States of America is responsible for many deaths because he's not really taking it that seriously. Could you please comment on that? And I can't tell you how many levels that's wrong on. That I could probably talk for an hour and a half on this issue, but number one, this professor's in academia. For any academic to actually say it's not good to question the legitimacy of what government tells you, well, that's kind of the opposite of what academia is supposed to do, right? So I don't know if everybody knows where the academic centers of the world came from, but they came from the Roman Catholic Church. And what was happening in the Middle Ages is the secular governments were really kind of, they were like speech police. You couldn't say anything against the king, you couldn't question anything, and society was kind of stagnating, and the great scholars in the Renaissance were rising up. And so, well, anyway, they created this university system where you could actually have free thought and free speech and question anything that secular government told you, because that was like freedom of thought. And in the realm of Aristotelian and Thomistic philosophy, you have to question things. Even St. Thomas Aquinas questioned the existence of God. That's how he came up with the five proofs of God's existence. And so these ecclesiastical this scholarship system was actually created to protect free thinkers from the rest of the secular world, so you couldn't have punitive judgment by civil courts, essentially. That's what the university system was. And a good example of this was Juan de Mariana of Spain. He was a Jesuit priest, and in the 1400s, I think late 1400s, early 1500s, he, I don't have the dates on me, you could look him up, but he essentially said that assassination of tyrants was actually a reasonable thing for free people to do. Shortly thereafter, I think it was Henry IV of France got killed, and so they took Juan de Mariana, threw him in jail for fomenting hate and whatever else. Juan de Mariana was also an economist, and he talked about coinage of money and sound-based currencies. He was one of the original Austrian economists out there, and he said if you debase currency, you're worthy of assassination. Now, he also said that we don't have to worry about too many people are going to be assassinated, because most of the times when it was warranted, it would never happen. So when it actually happened, it was warranted. But nonetheless, the civil governments and the secular governments threw him in jail. What happened? Well, the church came and actually pulled him out of jail and said, you can't arrest people for thought crimes. This is a problem, He's allowed to question whatever the heck he wants to question, because he's a free person and he has free thought. Well, anyway, that's essentially the basis of the university system, that you can actually question the dogmatic positions of the secular world. That's how religion rose up, essentially. That free people we are, and free people we will act like, and we will question pretty much anything, because we are free people, and we have these minds that operate as free individual instruments of the world. And so well, anyway, so a university professor, to say that is like the opposite of how university professors should speak. That's the number one thing that's wrong with it. Number two that's wrong with it is Donald Trump being responsible for deaths of people in the world. I mean, what a joke. I mean, we've had 0 deaths in the United States of America. How could the President of the United States of America be responsible for people who have died of a virus that was in China? That makes no sense. So that tells you this professor's not operating on a reasoned locus, okay? They're operating on an emotional locus. There's no way on planet Earth that Donald Trump is responsible for people dying in China because he's not taking this disease seriously. That's wrong. It's like it's a sham on its face. Like if you believe that, you gotta realize the professor is just not well founded and they're emotionally reasoning, and maybe they have a derangement syndrome of some sort. Number three, the problem with this is you only have to look at the last 100 years in the history of mankind within Western civilization, with the rise of the communism and the Bolsheviks and the clamping down of free state and the authority of the state and so on and so forth. So in Soviet Russia, the Bolsheviks took over, they seized all private property and they killed the Tsar and they instituted communism, their New World Order communistic system. Well, anyway, there were obviously dissidents against that system. Well, what happened to those dissidents? Well, the communist system created something called Article 58, which was the rules of Soviet existence. And Article 58 had all these rules that would essentially force the compliance of the body politic or the sovereign people of the Soviet Republic to comply with the federal edicts, of the Soviet Union. And what became illegal then? Well, pretty much questioning anything became illegal. Like people were thrown in jail for saying, maybe we shouldn't be killing so many people. Maybe people were thrown in jail for saying, it would be nice to keep a little more of my production. Maybe people were thrown in jail for just saying, God exists and he loves us and perhaps we need to be obedient to God. Saying things like that, or even getting married within an Orthodox Catholic church. These things you would be thrown in jail for and killed for because Article 58. Now, if it's not legitimate to question the authority of the government or the authority of the media or the authority of, then you become lambs lining up for slaughter. You do, because what happens in systems like that? What happens in systems like that is governments create these systems of propaganda through their media systems and their chains of influence, and they tell you a story that you believe, and you have to believe it, and if you don't, they will put you in meat shredders and meat grinders and firing squads and gas chambers and whatever else. Now, this seems like I'm exaggerating, right? The problem is the last 100 years, there were over 100 million people that succumbed to such deaths because of questioning. And really that's all it was. Eventually questioning became dissidents. Eventually dissidents became the word terrorists. And eventually, once you're a terrorist, then you're an enemy of the state of the people, and therefore it's in the vested interest of the government to throw you in jail and throw away the key, or to kill you and get rid of you because you're a problem and a fomenter of hate, right? That's the way these propaganda systems work. And as the Soviet Union oppressed their people, I don't know if you've ever talked to anybody from communist systems from the East, but they were very oppressive and everybody knew it, but nobody was allowed to talk about it. People would whisper at parties and so on and so forth. Maybe they would wink at each other and I acknowledge what you're thinking, but I can't say it out loud because I don't want to die because I have kids to feed, right? So what happened was the Moscow Olympics in 1980, I believe it was 80, and the Soviet Union realized then that the average American was richer than the oligarchs in Russia, meaning we had such great wealth and they did not. And they suddenly were like, holy cow, we want to have what they have, which is freedom and liberty, right? And so that's when movements of perestroika and glasnost, and they even have words for these, that you need to question the authority of the system. You need to question the Politburo, the media that tells you what you need to believe. You need to question these things for freedom and liberty. And if you, as a human, and a Roman Catholic, by the way, if you don't question things, even the very existence of God, you're going to become a lamb for slaughter, and you can't become a leader in society, and you can't become a free will thinker. That's in a nutshell. I can't say this enough. You should question absolutely everything, because, by the way, once you create these systems of government that are autocracies and bureaucratic, and they essentially are in command and control of the labors of the people, corruption then ensues. Like people realize they can take the chains of government and the chains of oppression and seize the labors of other people and become quite influential and wealthy. That's pride. That's what happens when these very corrupt politicians start making deals with, how do I get more money out of the public treasury? Well, how do you get more money out of the public treasury when you live in such a system? Well, you create catastrophes that you only need federal intervention to cure, and you create corporations that actually have the problem-solving capability, and then all of a sudden you get your hands in the public treasury and your business can't go bankrupt. And then suddenly somebody says, you're too big to fail, which we've heard that multiple times in the United States of America. Don't tell me it can't happen here. So, well, anyway, that's just some of my thoughts. I don't want to make the video too long. God bless you. Please question everything. The coronavirus, give me a break. You should question that too. You should, I mean, if you're questioning the existence of a God, you should question like the global fallout of pandemic or epidemic or whatever else. I mean, it's a joke that you shouldn't question this, and no university professor who's worth their salt should ever utter such like garbage. I mean, that's what it is. It's garbage. Okay, well, it's Catholic Dad making you think about it. Please like or subscribe, get the Mass, and pray the daily rosary. And by the way, we are Catholics, so we're truth seekers. And if we're truth seekers, we will question. That's the way it works. You cannot question. I mean, you cannot truth seek without questioning. By the way, that's why the freedom of speech and freedom of the press are two of the first protected rights, and religion, by the way, first of the few protected rights within our Declaration, within our Bill of Rights. So anyway, take care. God bless you all, and have a good day.